Hello, everybody. My name is Mike Sturdivant, and I'm the co-founder here at Stark Flavor. And we have another episode of the Stark Flavor Stories. And as you can see, we've gone pink today compared to our normal blue, which means we have a very special guest who is Mary Beddell, who is the founder and I don't know if I call you director or president. I,
President.
president. Okay, I thought, but I forgot to ask that of the Josette Beddell Memorial Foundation. So, how are you doing, my friend?
Great, how are you?
I'm doing very
Are
well.
you gonna pump some applause in?
Uh,
Ah.
no, but I'll clap for you because
Okay.
I'm not that technically sound to know how to do that. We'll pretend like they're there.
Okay.
So it took us a few weeks to get on the calendar with both of our schedules, but we made it, which is spectacular. So I have a feeling most people are going to know who you are and who your organization is. But just in case, let's start by telling people a little bit about you, and then we'll kind of roll into your organization, how that started. So give people an idea of who Mary is, or if people know of Joseph Bedell but do not know you, who's the face behind that brand and name?
Sure, yeah, well, there has to be people who don't. But yeah, I'm Mary
Maybe.
Beddell. I'm a lifelong resident of Stark County. I went to Canton McKinley High School with Mike
Yes.
and graduated from Kent State University, moved back to Canton, and I started my nonprofit. We had our first event in 2009, and we formed formally as an organization in 2011. I work full time for Plain Local Schools. I'm the director of public relations. Go Eagles! And I fill my free time with running the nonprofit. I'm very passionate about helping women in Ohio who are suffering with breast cancer, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's it. That's going to be the bulk of what we're talking about because
Yeah,
your guys' foundation is amazing, and if people do not know about it, they need to. So, you formed your organization in 2009. You said so.
mm,
It's 2021, 12 years now, almost.
yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah,
I still have that McKinley in me a little bit, so I got to count my fingers sometimes. But
we gave our first grant out in 2011, so we kind of use that as a. It was
yeah,
kind of unofficial before then.
for about 10 years. Then
Yeah.
that's still extremely impressive. So tell people a little bit about. Let me get through that. Let's tell people a little bit about what your foundation is, what the I guess the inspiration behind it is, and kind of what you guys do.
Sure, absolutely. So, my mom Josette passed away from breast cancer in 2002, actually just a few short weeks after I graduated high school. And I always kind of describe it to people as it changed my whole life. And I moved out and went to college just 2 months after losing my mom, and I think that it kind of set me on a path of what am I supposed to do with my life. And one of the things that really resonated with me at that really important time in my life was the kindness that people showed to my family. And, what I've learned throughout the years is that my family's story is not unique. Um, what my mom went through is very similar to what a lot of people go through. And while each individual person's experience with cancer is individual, um, cancer is not just hard on you physically, it's hard on your whole family. It's hard emotionally, it's hard mentally, and more than anything, it's hard on a lot of people financially. And I think that I just saw a gap in how I could best serve the most people. And one of the things that I realized was that there was these big organizations who were doing great work. Research is really important. Things that I can't touch. I know I can't. I know I can't cure breast cancer. I know I can't move the needle forward on finding that cure or making the medicine better. But in the meantime, people just like my mom are getting sick and passing away, or having their whole life turned upside down. And so I thought, what if I just focused on my area? What if I just had tunnel vision on helping people where I'm from, and keeping my mission really narrow, which is it's never changed in all these years. We help women who are going through breast cancer pay their bills, and we give direct grants to people who are going through treatment. or who have been financially impacted by their treatment. And through the years, it has looked a bunch of different ways. We've helped people. We've helped someone put a roof on their house. We've helped people buy new tires. We've just helped people with lost wages because they haven't been able to work. We've helped people with out-of-pocket expenses. So it looks a little different for everyone, but more than anything, we've just tried to offer people a little bit of hope in that, hey, you're going through this thing. It's awful. And but there's people who care about you, who don't even know you, and who want to help you. And I think that that's like kind of the greatest gift you can give someone, is saying like, there's these people rooting you on. And so that's what we've been doing this whole time. And it's just slowly but surely grown and grown and grown. And here we are 10 years later.
And I think that's amazing because first for you, because that's, losing a parent, and especially to something like cancer, is one of the worst things that you go through, but that most of us are going to go through eventually. And you
Sure.
went through it at an early age. You talked about 2 weeks after graduation, but you and your board and your foundation, and I know some of your siblings are actively involved, were able to turn something that at the time was more than likely the worst thing that you have gone through into something though that's this amazing, and I don't know what the quote is, but people always talk about people smarter than me, the most important thing you can do is leave a legacy that's going to go. And you have been able to take your mom's legacy and create all of this stuff, which, if it's any help or, good things to say, I don't know what word I'm looking for. It's really all anybody can ask for in life. It's all going to end for us eventually, right? I hate thinking about it, and a lot of people do, but what you've been able to do with her name and her legacy has been amazing. Because you told me off camera how much you've been able to give to local people. Do you feel comfortable sharing that, like what you guys have given over the 10 years? Because I think
Oh
it's
my gosh, yeah, we'll shout it from the rooftops. Yeah, so we hit a great milestone in 2020, which is that we hit giving out over $500,000. So I think today it's actually more like $650,000 when you add up everything together. And that's certainly not a number I ever dreamt of. We started with one grant for $1,000 to one person,
Mhm.
and then two, and then three, and now we're at hundreds of people. And so it's just been one by one, meeting people and seeing how we can best help them. And it's kind of just grown and snowballed into this thing where we're trying to help as many people as possible. And yeah, I never dreamt that I would say those words out loud. Now I'm like, well, how long is it going to take us to get to 1 million?
You're well on the way. But I think that's amazing because the way you found that kind of niche to help people, like, hey, there are these amazing organizations, like the American Cancer and place like that are bringing in millions and billions of dollars and changing this disease and giving so many people hope with development and research and all these things. But you were able to find, hey, that's great. And it is great. I've worked with the American Cancer Society myself. I think it's fantastic. But through your mom's process, you said, hey, there's all these kind of like things that fall through the cracks when you're fighting a disease like this. And that's where we're going to be able to focus and help women and family here in Canton, Stark County, Northeast Ohio. And that's, I mean, $650,000. That's something I know you're proud of, but that's incredibly impressive. And uh, just kudos to you guys, and you ladies, because I know your board is full of some wonderful superhero ladies that some of them I know as well. So
Well, and I think honestly that's kind of the crux of this, is that it's proof of how kindness can it keeps moving forward. Because what happened is we would give someone a grant, and then that person would tell someone about our organization. And then we would have somebody who would say, well, because you helped my family, now we want to give back to you guys. And so it has really shown how a great example is the Lakewood Fire Department. We love the Lakewood Fire Department. one of the firefighters' wives were going through breast cancer treatment, and we were able to help their family. And then the fire department rallied together and did this fundraiser for our organization that brought in that over the years has brought in thousands of dollars. And I think it was proof of like we were able to step up and help one of them, and then they have continuously shown up to support us. And so those types of connections have just continued to build. And it just shows how if you go out of your way to help someone, no one wants to be in this position. So anyone who's getting a grant or who's in this position, they want to know then like, well, what can I do for the next person? And so it's been really great to see how that's come together. And it's certainly, while I'm proud that I'm the leader of this, it's the like army of people behind me, like you mentioned, who are like all the time advocating for us and connecting us with other people, and that's been really incredible.
We had Lamar Sharp on here, and he was one of our first guests that we aired, and he said that exact same thing. Like everybody knows Lamar, and he's the superhero and he's the face of it. But Lamar knows and will, as you say, scream from the rooftops, no, it's my team. It's not me.
Yeah.
I get to be the face and I get all the notoriety. But if I didn't have this group of rock star people that do the heavy lifting, like, yeah, I guess people just don't know what goes into how
Oh,
you work and all of these
incredible.
things. You have to have a team, and it's all hands on deck. And having those friends and those people that give that selfless effort, it's just been incredible to see and watch you guys grow over the few years. And you guys, speaking of growth, a big part of your fundraising comes from your premier event, which is the Wind Chime Ball, which you guys have been able to turn into the
I like to market as
rock
the party.
star of
Yeah.
all galas in this area. I've gotten to come a couple of times, and I attended last year. Tell people a little bit about the Wind Chime Ball, what year one looked like, and then last year I think was year 10 you celebrated,
It
right?
was, yeah. I mean, honestly, every year has been a dream. I mean, we kind of realized the very first one that this idea that we had was something that people really responded to. So, I was mentioning to you, I was in my early 20s when we started the nonprofit. And actually, my brother, who's a couple years older than me, said, I think that we should do a formal event. I went to one, he lived in Cleveland at the time, and he said, I went to this formal event in Cleveland. My friends had such a good time dressing up. I don't know that I ever would have even thought of that per se. And I was kind of like, I don't know if my friends will come. Like, I just didn't know
Mhm.
if this was like something for young people. And I think, for a long time, it's always kind of felt like charity was for the older crowd, charity events were for the older crowd. And so I really liked, and I think now we see like so much, especially in Stark, so many young people, and I'm putting myself in that young people category now,
We're
even though.
clinging there. We're young professionals for like 3 more years. We're gonna cling.
Right, yeah. So the 40 and unders, who are doing really, great things and making it accessible for people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s to get involved. And so the first year, we thought like if we sell 100 tickets, that would be awesome. And we ended up selling out the space we were at, and we had 250 people there. And we probably had like 10 baskets. I mean, we were like, oh, we don't know. We like just decided which things were auction and which one were, just all sorts of stuff. That I remember we got dry ice because we were going to do a signature drink. It all evaporated before the event even started. So there was definitely like, oh, we did a check-in process that took forever. Like I remember just seeing the line of people and being like, oh my gosh, like what are we doing? People are waiting in line so long. So, but then from that, there was also some wins. Like we did the first hour open bar. People love that, and we've never gotten rid of it. We've always offered the first hour open bar because, people get a little loose, start bidding, and are ready to have a great time. So since then, we have luckily sold out the space every time we've had the event. It's slowly but surely happened quicker and quicker. So it used to take a couple weeks. Then a few years ago, it took a couple days. And then a couple years ago, it took a couple hours.
Now it's
And
a couple
then
seconds, and
and then this most recent year, it was like, I don't know, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, something like that. And we had 650 people at the most recent event. We raised like right under $150,000. It was, and it's truly a celebration of life. It's a party because I truly think, we only have today, we only have right now. And so we want people to celebrate the life that we're living. It's not a day to be sad. And it's called the Wind Chime Ball because my mom, when she passed away, let me and my siblings know that we should listen for wind chimes. And that was going to be her way of letting us know that she was near. And so it has a real special meaning. I think sometimes people don't know why it's called that. And so the event is just so special to us. And we love that people love it because we love it so much. And I always tell people, if I'm telling somebody about it who's never been, I'm like, you just have to come. I can't even
Right.
explain to you what the energy is like because the energy is truly palpable. And it's funny now because of where we are in the pandemic, because I look at the video from last year and I'm like, oh, all those bodies on the
Right.
body to body on the dance floor. But we had the time of our lives, and at the same time, raised a lot of money. And the thing that I love about the event is I truly want it to be accessible for everyone. It's not for the richest people only in our community. I want you to be able to come, even if you only buy your ticket, you can have a great time. And I think at this most recent one, we probably had like 150 baskets between auction and raffles. So, slowly but surely and I'll tell you what, the first couple years of the Wind Chime Ball, me and my friends can tell you, we drove all in a car, business to business. We would take turns getting out and going in. I mean, now we have people contacting us because they want to have their items in the auction. So it's just funny how things change. But I remember those years of driving and, going through Belden Village, hopping out, can I talk to your manager? And, making calls and just begging people to hear what we were doing. And,
Mhm.
plenty of people said no, but then there's people who said yes. And so it's been a grassroots build, and we're just real proud of that. So
And I've had the opportunity to go, I think, 3 times. And I missed 2 years ago because I had a board commitment, but I was there last year. Thanks
yeah,
to you. I did not get in on the first 5 minutes.
yeah, you were
You were
last
able
minute.
to you were able to sneak me in on an
Yeah,
extra ticket that came open, and I was there with a few friends. And I also don't know how I would describe it to people other than an experience you should experience at least once if you can, because I do a lot of different events, and I go to some different galas and things. The thing, and as we built the Compassion Delivered Gala, we kind of stole your model a little bit. We did it a little bit differently, but the thing that I loved about what you did, you go to some of these things, and this is no disrespect to anybody who might watch this that's committee chair at a gala or held a gala, but sometimes they're kind of dry and boring, right? Like people
yeah,
talk to you and they give you a lot of information, and they're trying to have a million different fundraising things, and it's all about, you're there, you're there. You go to yours and it was just fun. Like, right? Like, why you're there. And
yeah.
you're there to raise money, but you're there to have a like you said, the celebration of life. And as we modeled the Compassion Liver Gala the first 2 years, it was, let's have just fun, right? Let's
Yeah.
not focus. Let's take a couple minutes, and you do this exceptionally well.
Thank you.
There's dinner, you go up. Ashley went up. Ashley Valentine, who is she, your vice president? I know she's on your board.
She's on our board. Yeah.
She's on your board. Okay. And she did her spill and introduced you. Your business is like 15 minutes, right,
Yeah.
of the whole time. And the rest is, let's have fun, let's celebrate, let's raise money. And it works. You found a magic. I mean, almost $150,000 in one night is just
And we were like totally realized that year one. The first year we had like one portion that was like people were having great fun. And then we had something in the middle that kind of like took the energy level down. And we were like, oh, that was a mistake. And so I completely agree. And I honestly think that a big part of that was from the beginning, our event has been 75% young people, And so, and what we realized was not only would young people show up, they would spend money, they would give, like nothing had to suffer. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, well, we're not making money, but we're just throwing a party. And so I completely agree. I think it's hard because I know there's a lot of boxes you have to check. You need to thank people. You want people to, support your mission and this and that. But yeah, we want to have fun, and it's proven to work.
Do it well. And speaking of that, like we talked about last year, you're like the opposite of everybody else we're having on this feature because your event was in February of
I know,
20.
I'm sorry.
Oh, please don't apologize. I had a blast, so you don't have to apologize to me. It was the last fun I've had in 14 months, I think. So, but you were able to get that event in because you were so early on the calendar. So where most people were having to make
Yes.
those pivots last
I,
second this time and over the summer, but you where those groups now are hopeful and planning for this summer and fall, you had to lose your event for this year. So you're almost like the opposite. Now you're planning your pivots and you're planning, hey, what are we going to do to make this through this? And I think the benefit for you is you got to kind of see what everybody else did for a year. But what is this year going to look like? Like, do you have some other, I know you've already pivoted some fundraising things that, but what does this year look like for your foundation?
yeah, you're totally right. One, it was like a huge blessing. I have said many times that, I mean, we narrowly beat this timeline, I mean, really, like 9 days later the world changed. So I think, I don't know that I would have recovered like had I
Yeah.
planned everything and got shut down. But the one thing is, you're totally right, we got to see what everybody else did, and it helped us, it helped guide us in that. I know a lot of people, like everything else, took things virtual,
Mhm.
and it kind of helped me to realize that I felt like that market was a little saturated. So I felt like a lot of people, myself included, felt this, I want to support the organizations I like. So I'm going to give, I'm going to be a part of these virtual events because I really want to help get people through this. And I sort of felt like we had our event, we raised a lot of money, and I just felt like we we know the formula that works, and I didn't want to mess with the formula. And so part of me just felt like I don't want to just guilt people into doing one more thing. So I just felt like it was better to take a year off. And then we just kind of thought like, well, what are some things that we can do that are fun in the meantime, that aren't going to make us $100,000, but maybe we'll make five, or maybe we'll make a couple thousand. So, in the last year, we did, partnerships with we did a couple dine out nights. We did a Super Bowl boards this year, which, like, we ended up filling up 3 boards, and we raised a nice amount of money. And in my mind, I was like, why have we never done this? So we realized, like, oh, this is something we should do again. People really like this kind of thing. We did a virtual 50-50 that was super fun. We raised about $5,000 doing that. And we'll probably end up doing maybe another one of those at some point. So right now we're planning for to have the event next year in 2022. That's kind of just where we're at. I haven't started planning yet because we normally start about August. So part of it was kind of kind of giving myself a break and saying, we just need to ride this out a little bit. And so one of the things that we did, though, just in terms of the organization, is we adjusted our budget for giving. We typically, we're very proud of the fact that, one, we don't have anyone, no, we don't have anyone paid on staff, and we have very low margins for what we bring in versus what we give. And so typically we try to really mimic, we raised X amount last year, so next year we're giving out X amount. So I just kind of had to adjust those numbers a little bit. And we're still really proud of the fact that in 2020 we gave out about $90,000 to women across Ohio who were battling breast cancer. So we were still able to help every person who needed it in some way. Maybe not as great as we wanted to, but I felt like something was better than nothing, sort of thing. And so we've just had to be kind of lean in giving, and that's okay. That was hard at first because we were used to thinking like, oh my gosh, how can we really impact these people's lives? And so, but that's just like adjusting your expectations. And I think honestly, through this all, it's kind of like, this is resiliency, and this is one of those things that I think is going to make us better. And so it's, now that we're in May, I'm able to say that. There was a lot of back and forth in the middle that made me that of course I was is this the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing more? I did not get any shortage of people suggesting what I should be doing, you
Yeah,
know.
sure.
And of course, everywhere I went, people asked me, "Are you having your event? What are you going to do? Maybe you should do this." And so at some point, it just got really hard to break through the noise and think, what is the right thing? Because everyone had a different opinion on what the right thing was. And so at some point, I just had to trust my gut and say, you know what? I just need to make a decision and stick with it. And so, you know, we are still proud of the work that we've been able to do. We're going, my whole thing has been that I want to sustain and I want to be able to be an organization. I've said this before, like I want this to live longer than I do. And so what I didn't want to do is, I know there's probably some, like businesses, there's businesses and there's nonprofits that aren't going to survive this. And that's because there's plenty of organizations who just cannot run without creating that money from your core fundraisers. So I feel really lucky that we've been in the position we've been in. I feel lucky that we've still been able to um, like be true to our mission, and we're just trying to ride this wave and catch as many breaks as we can.
Right, like everybody else's, but
Yeah.
you've done a great job at it, and I'm glad to hear that you guys are in a good place, at least right now, with
Yeah.
your fundraiser and things and your pivots you have. So we talked off camera, and I'm not sure how to ask this in a way that makes sense to people. So I'll put it on you to give the answer that makes sense to people.
Okay.
But you were talking about, just in casual conversation, about how not just this year, but doing this foundation. Like, you started this foundation very early, and now it's integrated and it's part of you. Like, it's like your second job. And like you said, nobody's taking a salary, but it's something that takes a lot of work. But we were talking about, when you dive into something like this, you do not know, one, you're not thinking of 10 years down the road or 15 years down the road, but you don't realize how much doing this changes and opens up other doors and opportunities. We were talking about some cool things you've been able to do and dive into off of this. Can you tell people a little bit about, like, what some of those things are and what that's like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing that's really interesting is that the thing about my story that resonates with so many people is that I was really young when my mom got sick. I was 18 when my mom died, but I was 12 when she got diagnosed with breast cancer. And so, I think of that, that's my entire adolescence. And so I'm the youngest of five kids. And my siblings are so amazing. And I think everybody kind of looked to the fact that I'm the baby of the family, and people always felt so bad that this thing was happening to me at such a young age. And I never thought about the flip side of what my impact could be for other young people. And I think that's the kind of incredible thing about where I'm sitting now, being 36. And I have a great outlet because I work for a school district of getting to meet with young people. So that's a really fun piece of this. And so in this last year, I was able to connect here in Plain Local. We have this amazing program called Fierce Females, which is fourth grade girls, an empowerment group for fourth grade girls.
Sure.
Um, at Jackson, they have a group called Rocks, which is really similar, which is an empowerment group for fifth grade girls. Both of those groups I got to meet with this year and talk to them. One about my story, which sometimes we think, oh, we have to shield kids from things, but I want them to know, like, bad things can happen, and you get to choose your attitude going forward. And I always like to tell kids, that I had to consciously pick at some point that I could be mad forever that this thing happened to me, or I could be grateful that I got 18 years with my mom. And I truly most days pick to be grateful. There are certainly days where I think, I wish my mom got to see me as an adult because I was a kid when she died. And wish that she could see me as a woman. But for the most part, I feel really lucky that she was my mom. And I think that I'm a better person as a result of everything that I went through. And it's fun to be able to tell kids that, they get to choose their attitude, and that they get to choose how they persevere through things. And honestly, I felt very strongly about the students who graduated in 2020, who felt like, everyone was talking about how much was taken from those kids. And I really understood that because I was a senior in high school, my mom was dying, and I was stuck between a lot of different things. And when I was with my friends, I felt really guilty that I wasn't with my family. When I was with my family, I was resenting the fact that I wasn't able to do the things that
Mhm.
seniors in high school should be able to do. And so I wanted high school kids to even know so much of this stuff is trivial. And like, I promise you in 10 years, you're not going to care that you didn't get to go to prom.
Right.
But, you
Right.
will care that if you still talk to your friend from high school, or if you still connect with that teacher that made an impact on your life, or if you still go back and check in with your community, you know what I mean? So I'm like, it's so funny because I remember in the moment being completely crushed that my graduation party got canceled. I couldn't have a graduation party, and I remember it devastating me. And it's hilarious. I mean, to me now, I think
Yeah.
that's so trivial. Look, I mean, my life is so blessed, and but I get how in that moment that feels like the biggest thing. And I think all those kids, I think that we are going to look back and see that the class of 2020, the class of 2021, I think they're going to go on and do incredible things, because you can't choose perseverance. Something just has to happen and you have to live through it.
Mhm.
And so a lot of people when you're young don't have that opportunity until you're older. And I think that living through something when you're young makes you go through things that you just don't normally have to face.
Mhm.
And so I think that for me, that made me a better person, and I think that learning that like life isn't always fair, and like getting over some things that, and like really being able to be rooted in the things that truly matter. Like, is your family healthy? Are you healthy? Do you have a roof over your head? Like, if you could be grounded in those things, it's better for you. So it's just interesting because I never kind of thought about that part of it. And I feel really lucky anytime I get to talk to young people, because I just remember being that person. So
I think you're right with what you said about the perseverance thing, because and where this graduating class could go to. I think you hit so many things on the head that honestly I've never thought of like that. But you're exactly right. But the other point I want to point on is, this isn't about beliefs and things, but I have a strong feeling that your mom has seen you as an adult and does like
thanks.
that. And I know she's proud of you and everything you've done, as we talked about in her name, because you've done some amazing things to carry on her legacy. And I have a very strong feeling she's well aware of that and she's with you on those things. So for what that's worth, I have a feeling that she has done that, and I can't imagine she's anything but beaming with joy over you and your sisters and your brother and what you guys have been able to achieve, because it's been fantastic. And I just look forward to seeing what you keep coming up with, because you keep reinventing yourselves and you keep doing it better and better and bigger, not just the wind chime ball, but the organization in general. And you helped out a dear friend of mine, a former coworker, a few years ago, and I know how much that meant to her. And on a whim, she had kind of a crazy story that happened when you guys were there for her. And so I've seen it firsthand. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on here. One, you have such a great story that we want to push. And two, I just want people to know about what you're doing because it's amazing. So if somebody is seeing this that has not known about you and they would like to donate, or they would like to get involved, or they would like to learn more, what's the best way that they find you and your organization?
Truly, our website, it is, I joke about this all the time, because I was on Derek Gordon's podcast recently, and I told the same story that like when we were talking about starting the nonprofit, like I just always was like, oh, the Josette Beddell Memorial Foundation, and I never really thought that somebody would have to write that on a check.
Yes.
And so people are always like, who do I make it out to? And I'm like, Josette. But truthfully, I love the greatest gift is I love saying my mom's name and talking about her. So I'm glad we didn't name it anything else. But our website is josettememorial.org, and Josette is spelled Josettee. josettebedellmemorial.org, and that's where you can find application for our grant program. Our application for also do a program called Well Wishes, which is we recognize that sometimes people are diagnosed with breast cancer and it's too overwhelming to know what your financial needs are, or sometimes you just don't have a financial need yet. And we like to do just things to make people feel good, which is a lot of times we send them flowers or a gift certificate or just a note of encouragement. So you can request a well wish for someone. And then also we offer a college scholarship. And Mike, I don't know when this is going to air. Is it before June 1st?
We can make it air before
Okay.
June 1st. Let's do that.
The application to apply for our scholarship closes on June 1st. We might end up doing an extension, but we offer every year a $500 4-year renewable scholarship to a graduating senior who has had a parent or guardian affected by breast cancer in some way. And so you really just need to tell us your story. And again, that's in there because of me and my experience, and education was really important to my mom. So yeah, so we're still seeking applicants for our scholarship. You can find that on our website, and you can also make a donation.
There you go. Anything else you want to throw in before we say goodbye?
No, just thank you so much for having me on, and for wanting to know more about what we do. And our Stark County community is so incredible, and just Ohio in general. We've got to meet people in different parts of the state who have connected and been really supportive of this cause, and we just have always been really rooted in helping real people. And so I've always said, like, I don't care if you can donate $5 or $500, you get to know that that is going to a real person who lives in our community, and it's to help lessen their load a little bit. And we all know how much we need a helping hand sometimes. So just grateful for anyone who's able to support us in any way, and even if that's telling other people about our organization, that we appreciate that.
Well, thank you for joining me. I know it took
Thank
a
you.
few weeks to schedule this, but I've thoroughly enjoyed having the opportunity to get to know you over the last few years that we've been able to in your organization. So hopefully it's something that we can keep helping you out with and promoting for you. And
Here's your tickets to next year's Wind Chime Ball.
I'm going to be like on right at launch time, trying to get on, because I learned that lesson the hard way. It is the event. It's one of my favorite events. It's so much fun, and going with friends. And if there's anything that sums up what it's like to be me some days, I'm gonna throw this out there as a funny joke. I had a lot of fun at the last event, which means I drank a little bit. I'll be honest there. And I was with my very good buddy Chris Lewis, who I know, and Ashley, who's on your board, and Chris and I known each other half our lives. We don't need to talk about when we graduated and how many years ago that was, but we bid on a super awesome package, and leave it to my life to have COVID cancel the world. But
we're still gonna make that happen, actually.
Hey, I'm not throwing out there for any reason other than the funny story of like, yeah, that's what it's like to be Mike sometimes. But it so much fun. Like, I always enjoy going, and it's one of the highlights of my year because you guys just do it up, and it's so much fun, and you're there for such a good cause. And anytime I get to wear fluorescent pink, like if I'm gonna wear pink, I'm wearing pink. I'm not.
I didn't dress right today, but
Yeah, that's all right. I had you covered. And so, but Mary, thank you so much.
thank you, Mike.
To everybody tuning in, we will see you on the next episode of Stark Flavor Stories. Thank you guys, and thank you, Mary. Bye.
Thank you.